time is now 7:30, and I would like to call our meeting to order. Caitlin, could you proceed with the roll call, please?
Trustee Doherty? Here. Trustee Begani?
Here.
Trustee Humphries?
Here.
Trustee Morrow? Here. Trustee Stapleton? Here. President Kramer?
Here. Thank you very much. We'd now like to welcome our visitors to our meeting. Thank you very much for your interest in the library. And we're now on to agenda item number 4, the oath of office for Carissa Doherty. Are you ready for your oath of office?
It's painless.
Does someone have a camera that takes some pictures?
Sure. It's also being preserved on video.
Oh. I did do it for Jennifer.
We got scolded by Chris Neals, our communications coordinator, for not taking a picture during the oath of office for the two of you.
This transaction here.
We have been properly
Okay, go ready for the oath.
I state your name.
I, Carissa Doherty,
Having been appointed to the office of Library Trustee
to the office of Library Trustee
of the Downers Grove Public Library
of the Downers Grove Public Library
in the village of Downers Grove
in the village of Downers Grove
in the county of DuPage aforesaid. In the county of DuPage aforesaid. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Library Trustee according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Probably the most formal moment you'll see.
Thank you.
All right, welcome, Carissa. Okay, we're now on to agenda item number 5, approval of last month's minutes. Did anybody have any questions or comments regarding the minutes from last month? Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion to approve last month's minutes? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve last month's minutes that has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. The minutes have been approved. We're now on to agenda item number 6, financial matters. Julie, could you let us know how we're doing?
We are doing very well. So as of November 30th, we are over 100% for our revenue. So go us. So that's going very well. We are 92% through the year with that November 30th financials that are in your packet. Most of the lines are well below the 92% mark, especially in our salaries and benefits. So if you have any questions, you can see the invoices of note are in your packets, but especially there is the special invoices of note on all of the capital replacement fund items, because I know that those come up frequently for some questions. So we have some things in there like the new lock sets, and we actually put the appliances on a credit card, and that was really great because then we get all those rewards points, we get gift cards to use as prizes and other things. So those are all in your packet if you have any further questions.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the financial report? Do we have a motion to approve the financial matters as presented? Okay, we have a motion to approve the financial matters as presented, including the salaries as presented. That has been seconded. Caitlin, would you proceed with the roll call?
Trustee Jordan? Trustee Pagani? Yes. Trustee Hubbard?
Yes.
Trustee Morrow? Yes. Trustee Stapleton? Yes. President Krieger?
Yes. Thank you very much. The financial matters have been approved. Okay, we're now on to agenda item number 7, public comment on agenda items. Do we have any public comment on agenda items? Yes.
Yes. How do you want me to address you?
You can stand and give us your name and address us as you would anyone else.
All right. I'm David Haugen. I live at 4826 Forest Avenue. I just have some numerical questions about the bid for the HVAC improvement. I can't make the numbers add up. I'm sure someone else can. But I know that a recommended bid is to be awarded to Mechanical Concepts of Illinois at a cost of $534,000, unless they don't run into any unforeseen problems, in which case it's $15,000 less. Is that correct? And
Actually,
they,
oh, go ahead.
and they would need to have change orders then in order to receive additional funding?
It's not a change order, it's an allowance reduction. So the $15,000 is in their contract. Once approved, the $15,000 is in their contract. What you do with that, if unforeseen conditions, obviously the library will review and accept or reject. If they accept, that amount gets reduced from the allowance that we have available. Okay, so let's say we have a $2,000 change and it's approved. What it does not have to do at this point is to come back to the board, because it's already in their contract. We have the ability to be able to reduce that off of that amount.
You can do it, make a decision today and...
Well, I can't make a decision myself.
Yeah.
I certainly will with Julie and Ian.
Yes.
But that is the process of why we put an allowance amount in there, is that every time we want to make a move, we don't have to wait 4 weeks for a new board meeting to happen to have approval for something that's moving relatively fast.
Okay.
And I will say that this is Robert St. Barry, our engineer,
How are you?
our engineer.
I was here when he was,
Whose recommendation is in
in his words, barking out the numbers.
I was working on the numbers.
And then I have it, let's see. The letter
I wrote it.
from you says that Ian determines at this time not to accept any of the alternate bids. And I am a little bit confused. Some of the alternate bids are for preventive maintenance.
Correct.
Quarterly.
Right,
And
so-
there's 3, 4, and 5. So
Right,
those
so-
are the ones you'd say you do yourself.
No, what we're saying is we have up until the end of the 2-year warranty to go ahead and add those on.
Oh, there's a 2-year warranty?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can add on for year 3, 4, and 5 a month before the warranty is up if we want to.
Okay. And then there's an alternate bid 2,
Correct.
and I don't quite understand
The
what.
purpose of alternate
Oh,
bid,
that was automation.
it's automation based, but it allows you to, the day will come eventually where the variable air volume boxes in the building will need to be replaced. When that time comes, it'll allow us to control those boxes wirelessly instead of having to hardwire. So therefore, it's a feature through the automation system. Again, that's something that they could do at a later date through Train Direct and not have to be through this contract. It's not something that's expected to take place in the very near future. So therefore, it was decided not to accept that alternate.
Okay. So then the 534 is the sum of which of these columns?
It's the sum of the base bid.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Was there a requirement that the awarded contractor have a safety officer or someone in charge, for example?
Now, all the 9 bidders that we received are all union related.
Mm-hmm.
As part of the union, they have to have a safety program associated with their organization.
Okay, I was thinking of selecting the correct slings and things.
Well, what they'll do is whoever in their office is the dedicated person associated with safety will do periodic spot checks when they come out and
okay.
make sure that the conditions are safe.
My next question is the disposal of the removed equipment included in this?
It is.
It is.
It is.
And that's the responsibility of the contractor?
Correct.
Is there any practical way in recovering some metals for?
No, there really isn't, because if that's the case, then you have to take the responsibility of transporting that.
Yep.
Just the sheer cost of transporting it will outweigh the cost of what you're going to receive
and
back.
taking it apart.
Right. It's you're better off, Mr. Contractor, you take it and get rid of it.
All right. Let's see. The personnel policy. I have been watching the personnel policy improve month by month, and it is superlative.
Thank you.
Yes. Much, much better than it was before.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other comments, public comments on agenda items? Okay, any public comment on other library business?
Hi, good evening. My name is Horace Databoy. Horace like a sponge and Databoy like Attaboy. And I live in Downers Grove at 216 39th Street. Thank you for permitting me to speak to you all. I'm going to cover a situation, a task, action, and a result. Situation. About a month ago, at a meeting in Elmhurst, I heard from an educator, Jerry Sounder, of the Northwest Suburban Teachers, and she had difficulty providing reading books to school children as they lived in a trailer park in a suburban township, and their parents could not afford library cards or books, as they could not afford the library charges for a library card. So the question came to my mind was the task. How would we handle this task in unincorporated DuPage or Downers Grove Township or any township? How would we provide access to library books to these children? Should we be charging them regular fees or charges for a library card if they live at a park, at a trailer park, and their parents cannot afford it? So I introduced Jerry Sounder, who was the Northwest Suburban teacher, to First Book, which happens to be a charity that provides books free or at 10% cost or at discounted rates, and she thanked me for the assistance, and she had to register with this organization, which is based in Washington. The result of this was it could be better if all kids in unincorporated areas have access to library books at affordable rates based on family incomes. For example, why not charge the same library part to unincorporated residents that we charge to residents in the city, so that all children could read? They could also, by doing that, there would still be a marginal contribution and a financial benefit to the library. The choice is yours, based on rates, incomes of all residents may not be the same or something else. My request is, let's provide library books to all children in Illinois. And let me end by saying, when we send our soldiers overseas, we do not want to leave any soldier behind. So let's think of our children, and let's not leave any child behind for access to library books. Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest. All right. Very nice. I think that's something we can look at over the next,
And it's something that we can discuss, but if you'd like me to just take a moment
Sure.
to address it, it's something that the state of Illinois has struggled with for years. Unfortunately, in the state of Illinois, not everyone resides in an area that is served for library service. So those people do not, anyone residing in those unserved areas does not pay property taxes toward a library and therefore does not get a library card. And the state of Illinois has very, very distinct rules about how you serve non-residents in the state of Illinois. And those of you who have been on the board for a while know that annually we pass a resolution that we are participating in the non-resident fee card program, which allows us to actually sell a library card to non-residents. But the formula is strictly mandated by the statute, and you get to pick among the formulas. Unfortunately, it is something that the state of Illinois has struggled with. It is something that we try our best to get around in going with the schools and partnering with our school districts as much as we can to get as much into the hands of our children as possible, which includes District 58 as a one-to-one district, so every kid has an iPad or Surface or whatever they have this year. But we actually have a cooperative ebook program with our school district, so every single kid who goes to a Downers Grove school has access to Downers Grove Public Library materials through their device. So even if they don't have a library card, they still have access to something through that cooperative agreement with the Downers Grove School District. So yes, it is an issue unserved in the state of Illinois, and about 10% of the state of Illinois is not in a taxing area for a library.
Joni.
I'd just like to comment. I'm Joni Hansen from the Downers Grove Friends of the Library. That if anybody comes to us or comes to the library and says they can't afford a card, they sign a hardship thing that all of them get approved. And, and the Friends of the Library pays for half of it. So that helps with making it so that it's more affordable. While I'm standing, I just want to make a comment because I didn't make it a couple of months ago. I guess I wasn't awake when it came to the public comment on other library business. That the Friends of the Library did have their book sale just before Thanksgiving, and we got over $2,000. And so it was a very good book sale, and we appreciate the library's help. Thank you.
Thanks, Joni. We appreciate you. And my son came home with a bag of books.
I must have been there on Sunday. $3 for a bag.
Okay, any other public comment on other library business? Oh, they are limited to 5 minutes, and can you keep your comment maybe like 1 minute?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I have been a volunteer delivering books to homebound people, and I noticed that in the minutes of one of the recent meetings, there's going to be an establishment of a sort of a mini library. I'm sure there are lots of nuts and bolts details about how to do that, but I think it's a wonderful idea because word of mouth from one person to the other. I just read this book about, how about you?
Thank you.
But I've also heard people say their library is out of date, so this is a good idea.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're now on to agenda item number 9. 9A is election of officers.
Each,
Yes.
library officers under the bylaws are elected for a term of 2 years, and even-numbered years after the appointment of new library board members, we hold an election of officers. We only have 2 officers. We have a president and a secretary. If it's considered in order, and I believe it is, I would like to nominate Jonathan Raber as for a new term of 2 years as president of the library board. It's a nomination.
Thank you. Would anybody like to second that nomination? I can't second it.
Nominations do not require a second,
Okay.
but other people can make nominations. We then have to declare nominations closed, and we then vote.
Yes.
He was just starting to sweat there.
Anyone else? We can also have nominations for secretary.
I will nominate David Humphries for secretary.
I support that
We
nomination.
can, I will accept that. And have both of the nominations in the same category, same section, so thank you.
Okay, are there nominations, any additional nominations?
Somebody want to move the vote?
I'll move that nomination.
Any objection?
Any objections? All right, do we have a, how do we do a formal vote here, roll call?
You can do that, or you can simply declare, since there's one nomination.
Okay, I will declare myself president.
You can declare that
declare
by
David-
consensus,
by
or if
con-
you want to vote.
Let's have a roll call on the nominations of
I
Jonathan.
think you should have a motion to accept the slate and a
Okay.
second, and then the roll call vote.
Somebody move.
Your first minute, just say first motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right.
Are we doing it
Roll call.
individually? or-
Yeah, it's a roll call.
Just a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Trustee Doran? I have the nominations. And now we're going to do a full roll.
Yes.
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 That's okay.
Trustee, yes. Trustee Humphrey?
Yes.
Trustee Morrow? Yes. Trustee Staples? Yes. President Green?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was complicated.
Yeah, they got a little here.
Little
Gonna
Robert's
be-
rules in there.
Do the whole thing by acclamation, by consensus, but it's not needed this way.
So we're now on to agenda item 9B, acceptance of donation to the art collection.
So out of the blue, we received an email from Matthew Mullins and his husband Andrew Welling that they wanted to donate a painting by Sergei Cherek, an artist that we already have one painting of his in our collection, and they wanted to do that donation in this year. It is a larger painting than the one that we have, and they did supply some additional information about the painting to the library, but we highly recommend that the board accept their generous donation that is being made in honor of Don and Lorraine Mullen, and they have asked that when that is displayed to the public, that the plaque reflect that this item was donated in honor of Don and Lorraine Mullen, who have been longtime Davenport residents.
Has there been a decision on where it will be placed within the library?
Melody wants to walk it around the building and hold it up. So our graphics and display coordinator, Melody Danley, is the one who is basically in charge of what happens with our art collection and is the one who goes around and selects where things are hung. So she's got a couple of ideas, but she wants to see it in place first.
Just a little history. Forgive me, but a number of years ago, the library decided that as part of the 15 years of expansion of the library, we wanted to develop an art collection within the library. And we began a fundraising program for that, which took the form of those bricks, engraved bricks that are in the patios outside of the library. And we thought we might get sell enough bricks to buy a couple of paintings. Well, the idea caught on, and we were able to create the first public art exhibition in Downers Grove. And it's a substantial one. We have, through cash contributions, we have expanded that contribution, that collection. The library board, with help from the foundation and friends and other organizations, have chosen pieces, and quite frankly, we're very proud of the collection that we now have. We have additionally, in a couple of cases in the past, received contributions of artwork itself. And the library has a policy by which we can review those contributions, and it's hard to tactfully put it, but we actually are accepting something that we want to own. Because once they give it to us, it's ours, and no strings attached at that point. So it's a commitment, but it also, in order to maintain the integrity of the collection, we want to accept good pieces. This piece is by an artist that we've already got in the collection, and we love it. And so that's a little bit of the history, and we will accept other contributions in cash or kind, and the library board will review each of them and in many cases accept them. So that's a little bit of the history.
We always accept the cash.
Yeah. We always accept the cash. There was one case a number of years ago where a piece was donated that the library board chose not to accept. I won't say more about it. But I would move that we accept the contribution of the family.
Matthew, the Mullen family.
The Mullen family.
In honor of Don and
In
Lorraine.
honor of Don, yeah, and as was presented, and I move that we accept that contribution and add the piece to our library collection.
Second.
And now we can have discussion because I think Carissa had a question.
Yeah.
I had a question about the library's de-accession policy and what, as we accept things for accession, are there any expectations as far as maintaining that artwork, for what period of time, and then, if we did decide to de-accession, where those funds would go and how they can be dispersed?
We actually, for donations of artwork, they come to the library free and clear, no strings about de-accessioning them. So when it is time, according to our resident expert, Melody Danley, who again, our graphics and display coordinator, takes care of our art collection. That being said, we have not de-accessioned anything from the art collection in my tenure.
I don't believe we've done it at all.
We have a lot of wall space.
When we run out of space, we will have perhaps some storage and rotate things around if we choose. But I don't believe we have actually de-accessioned anything.
And is there a system or anything where the artworks are cataloged and maintained as far as provenance and all the paperwork has to go along with it?
We do have a file, such as it is. Some of the works we have better provenance for, and some we do not. So we maintain that to the best of our ability. And we also maintain on our website, a collection list that's got information about each piece and the artists.
Each piece was specifically selected by the library. Well, we initially had a consultant that assisted us in choosing the initial collection, but the library accepted each piece one by one. And so it should be in minutes and so on.
Yes, some of the pieces that were purchased for offices and for the library in general that were lesser pieces that didn't go through the library board that we might not necessarily have as much information about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so has an appraiser ever appraised the collection? Is there a value associated with insurance involved?
Our insurance package does have a fine arts rider of up to $1 million. So since we know we're nowhere near that, we have not had the collection appraised.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe we have a motion to accept the donation of the artwork that has been seconded by someone. And I think we can by voice vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have approved the acceptance of the donation of the artwork. Thank you very much. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 10A, the 2019 HVAC Boilers and Controls Project Bid Award.
Mr. St. Mary is here. The recommendation to award is for the base bid for Mechanical Concepts. We have gone over some of these details, so if you have any additional questions for Mr. St. Mary, he's here to answer them, along with Ian Knorr, our facilities manager.
I just had one question on this may have been addressed a little bit earlier, the reference to the $534,000, and then in the agenda item 10A, it references $578,500. Is that just including?
That's including the
Yes,
Alara
that's what I thought.
engineering
Okay.
contract that was previously
Right.
approved.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. I understood the bid specs pretty well. Were there any surprises? Were there any changes necessary?
No, actually, you fared quite well. We bid early in the season for contractors looking for work for the summer. We had 9 bidders that, of those, 7 or 8 of them I personally went and seeked bids from. The nice part about it, the bids were incredibly tight. The rule of thumb on something like that is that you throw out the low and you throw out the high and you average the rest. That's the price of the job. Well, if you did that, probably the average price of the job would have been somewhere around $560,000. So, being $25,000 off that with your low bid is pretty good. So the numbers were very tight, very competitive. There wasn't a glitch on the bid form. Every one of them signed off on every one of the forms, did everything they were supposed to do. We didn't have to not open one. We opened every one. We read every one. Overall, I thought it was very successful.
Well, in my reading of it, it was very successful, and I think we owe Ian Knorr of our staff and Mr. St. Mary from Alara for putting together tight bid specs that were easy to bid, and they did a good job, and the bids were all pretty close together.
Yeah, they were
good
close.
bid specs.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you.
Any other questions on the 2019 HVAC Boilers and Controls Project Bid Award? Do we have a motion to approve the bid award?
I will move to approve the bid award to Mechanical Concepts.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the 2019 HVAC Boilers and Controls Project Bid Award as presented to Mechanical Concepts of Illinois. It has been seconded. Caitlin, could we proceed to the roll call, please?
Trustee Doherty? Yes. Trustee Guerrero? Yes. Trustee Humphries?
Yes.
Trustee Morrow? Yes. Trustee Stevenson? Yes. President Kramer?
Yes. approved. We're now on to agenda item 10B, personnel policy.
Phew. This one took a long time. It was a long time in coming.
A long time to review it.
Oh my goodness, yes. But we got through it. Our attorneys, Dennis Walsh from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins, and his colleague from Kleinthorpe, Tom Melody, who is their HR specialist, reviewed this, went over some changes with me. Most of them were very small wording changes. We do have in your packet a list of the 3 major changes. That's a change to the vacation for part-time individuals, the removal of the leave sharing that has not been utilized, and the changes to the general leave of absence, which allows us to mirror FMLA for part-time staff. And then there's a whole list of minor changes. I won't go over each of those in detail, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I have reviewed this a couple of months before, and I applaud the staff for thorough analysis of this, bringing us in line with current law and current practice. And I've been through it, and I'm thrilled at the result, frankly. I think we've improved the fairness, improved the diversity of the plan, and I'm fully in favor of it.
And I do ask that that be effective on January 1st, which is in line with our vacation policy when everybody receives their allotment. So it just makes it nice and clean with the changes to the vacation time.
I had just a couple of comments, and I don't think this will change the effective date of the policy, but just a couple of things that I just noticed as I was going through. I found that the policy against hiring family members, which I'm not sure if this is just the same essentially as what it was, but it seemed so broad to me in that, you know, if Jennifer has a cousin who comes and applies, like that person is just prohibited under all circumstances from working at the library. And the other point I guess I was thinking about was the fact that, like, let's assume that someone has a relative that's working at the library, and then the village then appoints someone to serve on the board. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's what this is really intended to get at. And I don't think it necessarily prevents those two things from happening. But I'm just wondering if, and I would still want this approved tonight. I mean, that's kind of the direction I'm going, but maybe just as a project, a very small project going forward, as to whether or not this is kind of in line with what the policy that we should have.
And that is one of the few sections that was not changed.
Yeah.
So this is the policy that's been standing for quite some time, but I would be more than willing to look at it and look at how we can improve it.
Okay.
The way that I read it was basically one line from you. So my cousin would be able to, unless that cousin was standing in place of a mother or father figure to me.
Or you had custody.
Or I had custody of their children. So it's looking at it from a single line out from you. So grandparents, brother-in-law, father-in-law, basically people who would reside in your same house. So an aunt or an uncle or a cousin would be exempt from it, unless they had some legal guardianship status.
Well, are you saying the last sentence that says,
Yeah.
as well as any relative residing at the employee's address?
And then the one before, a legal guardian or other person who stands in place of a parent, aunt, uncle, cousin, etc.
I mean, I don't know if that covers cousin, where it's saying above, like, immediate family member includes a cousin. And then it says, or other person who stands. Like, I just, that's not the way I was reading it.
Jennifer has the intent of the policy,
Okay.
and you're picking the word.
Legal.
Yeah. I think there's a comma missing, and I think that would change it. Honestly, I think there's an Oxford comma. It changes the
Oh, I hate it when they do that.
If there was a comma there, I think it would change.
But what foster child is serving as the place of my parent? I don't understand. Like,
Or a child.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not.
So if you were raising your sister's children, They are serving in Iraq.
So what you're saying is your brother under this policy could
not.
serve. Why not?
Because that is a direct line.
Okay.
But my nephew could.
Unless
If
he doesn't live it.
He doesn't live with me and I am not his legal guardian.
That's what it's supposed to say.
Yes.
Would it be appropriate for the motion to approve tonight to contain a clause that by a certain date, June 1st or some date that we agree on, we will review that section and reconsider it rather than...
You can make it effective January 1st,
Yeah.
and I can bring you back a revised, just that,
Yes,
in
that's right.
January.
Well, no, this.
Because we
yeah.
need to have something in
Yeah.
place January 1st, and I don't think we want to discuss, we want to
Hold everything.
Right.
hold everything up while we're discussing comments tonight. We'd like
It's
to
a
do
long
that.
sentence.
A little-
It's a long and awkward sentence.
I actually.
And surprisingly, our attorney had no problem with it.
No.
But he didn't have a family member.
It's like
Right. I actually don't, I mean, we can include it if we want. I mean, I think that just having like a clean motion with like the informal, like.
Just an informal consensus that we'll review it soon.
Review that
That's
particular
fine.
provision. The other, let me see if there was one other.
Is there, like, just in reference to that, when somebody is applying, it does ask a specific question about any relatives that are on the board or currently working at the library?
Actually, it doesn't.
Okay, so there's no real way to
There's no-
enforce this with current practices? Okay,
You see-
unless you've heard.
You
or
see,
I told
that's a
you.
little sticky because we do not actually control who gets appointed to
Right.
the board.
Right, the mayor does.
We do make the policy.
Right,
And
right.
so if the mayor appoints, or the council appoints somebody that doesn't fit our policy, then we either have to change the policy or change our employment list.
I think the way around that would be to
And
make
so-
sure that it's disclosed at some point during the process of employment. Like, I work for a private.
Except we can't tell the mayor, you can't appoint that
No,
person.
not about the trustee,
The
but about the
employee.
employee.
The
The
Yeah.
employee is where the reign of
Okay.
control
And
is.
how does your preference?
Right. So I work for a private corporation, but they still have a disclosure on the employment application that asks if any other members work or have worked for the company in a certain time period. Just to fully disclose any sort of clemency or any sort of favoritism that might arise later.
Let's take a look.
And honestly, it lets you know if they had a grandparent that was a board member in 15
Well-
years. Well, just that there's interest and passion and
Sure.
that they followed in the family, and that isn't nepotism though. but-
Right.
Yeah, and my bigger point is just that I don't want like our service to prevent somebody from getting a job here. If they're, if they are qualified, and I don't want your hands to be tied with that sort of policy.
Tell them they have them do it.
But who doesn't want to work at the Downers
Right.
Public Library?
Everybody wants to work.
They can volunteer.
Yes, they can. Okay.
Okay, so, actually, I think maybe one more question. The provision, there was a provision that dealt with really kind of the chain of command and kind of how to report internal complaints. And I actually ended up becoming sort of comfortable with it after sort of seeing some cross-references and things. Although the only provision I would change, or just a couple words, if we could, and I think we can do this through the motion, is that on page 43, and Julie, I'm sorry if this involves you as the library director.
That's
It says this is the top, the first full paragraph, it says, if a complaint involves, and then quote, and then it says the performance of the library director, then the board president will be the first contact to resolve the problem. And I eventually worked my way to this provision because I was trying to figure out how somebody would report, like someone at the top, like if something was going on. And so what I was thinking about is then what is the performance of the library director? And so I just thought if we could just remove, so if a complaint involves the library director,
Sure.
so then we just get rid of, so that paragraph would just start off, if a complaint involves the library director, comma, the board president will be the first contact to resolve the problem.
So you're deleting what we're.
The performance
The
of.
performance of.
Okay.
That's
That's fine.
relative.
Yeah.
It took you 3 minutes to do something, I thought it should take 2. I mean, people are
Right,
very
exactly,
excited about this.
exactly. The, I think that was it from my perspective. Oh, sorry. One more very, and this may be in here, so this is more of just a comment to go back to our attorney with, is that sometimes I like to see in these sorts of documents like a catch-all of like, we intend for this to apply. We intend for all of these policies to fit within state and federal law, you know, as it exists or as it may exist in the future. And so this needs to be construed to sort of effectuate that intent. Just some sort of general language. It may be in here somewhere, or maybe it's in a different place within the handbook. Okay, as long as it's somewhere else, that's completely fine.
I think that's important because specific to sexual harassment and anti-discrimination, they are rolling out laws in New York and California this year, January 1, with the intent of 13 more states adding, maybe possibly mid-year 2019. So without having to write in there specifically that all employees must partake in that training, it leaves it open to be able to enforce that policy later on. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
And I believe that is in our general
Okay.
policy, that
I-
everything in the policy
Yeah.
manual is supposed to
So,
comply. Yes.
On that same line, California will also be rolling out a similar policy to GDPR. I don't know if anybody's.
Data privacy.
Yeah, so the general data privacy, and the way that that is written is that it's very vague. It's any identifiable information about a person. So the fact that you have blonde hair isn't identifiable. And so I couldn't disclose that to somebody else without your consent. It's small things like that. And that will be particularly hard for government institutes because it's 3% of your, basically, your revenue for the year, which is huge. California will be rolling it out next year, and again, there's several other states that are looking to roll it out in the next couple of years. So I don't know if that's something that, I know that there's privacy that's included in here, but something to consider in the next year or two of getting ahead of it, because it's a lot harder to catch up.
Yes. And we are members of HR Source, which used to be the Management Association of Illinois, which is an human resources association, and they are very good in helping us stay ahead and giving us the alerts when things like that start to come down the pike, and when we have to be aware that there is legislation in Illinois that, you know, you're going to have this policy, like when the anti-harassment regulations came into being, and the newest ones, and we had to have a policy by a certain deadline.
Right.
They gave us a nice window and a sample policy, everything we needed to make sure that we could get
The
along.
only reason it gives me pause with the way that this organization is run is just that I saw in your report the digital downloads and the digital aspect of the library has increased like 20% in the last year. So you have to think it doesn't just apply to your employees, but it applies to anyone who utilizes the library, which is the whole village of Downers Grove, plus a handful of other people. And so it's just something to be aware of, what types of policies you have internally within your employees and how they're treating specific data of customers, but then also what you're going to disclose to the patrons of the library of what they're opting into and how you can use that data.
Well, hopefully that HR association will
Will
also
help.
allow-
Yeah, they'll be out of it.
But hopefully they'll lobby to
Yes.
say we can't do it state by state because that's California starting it off. It was already a mess after Europe. So if we have 50 different states, that's very hard. Yeah. So that's what a lot of organizations are trying to lobby the U.S. Chamber is saying.
Since our
Yes.
library users include people from 50 states
Yeah.
because of the internet.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's a
So just
growing
something
issue
to-
in the past.
Yeah.
All right, so do we have any additional comments on the personnel policy? And as I said, I would suggest that we approve it with that just slight change of if a complaint involves the library director rather than the performance of the library director.
I would move that we accept the personnel policy with that change.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the personnel policy with that minor change that has been seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, the personnel policy has been approved. Excuse me?
Give a chance for people to say.
Yeah, you
Also
are
aye.
technically supposed to.
Actually,
The personnel policy has been approved. We're now on to agenda item number 11, library director's report.
Whew. Well, we have a lot going on. Quick construction update. Ian, you want to give us the quick version of what's going on with construction?
The quick version is we're going to be up and running in about 2 weeks. The circulation desk was moved. That part of the project is completed. Cold shelves were moved. So everything that we hope to achieve happened. Better sight lines, better patron interactions, a lot more ease of use to people. We are going to be final punching with both Dan, the architect, and then Jason from Shales McNutt on next Wednesday. And then after that, it's going to be little stuff. We've been doing a lot of anything that we see as the trades are here, so that way we're not bringing them back after everything's been cleaned and everything's all finalized. The bathroom fixtures went back into the family bathrooms. Trim carpenter was setting countertops today. Plumber's coming back on Friday to finish those up. So yeah, we're right on the ball. We're right on track, and we're hitting our target date. Everything ideally will be able to be used come the 20th. Right, a couple days before Christmas, so that's good. We said before Christmas, we didn't say how many days.
Right on. We're supposed to button everything up by the 21st so that the staff gets their Christmas present, which is the staff restrooms back. Yeah. Two other things from my director's report in the packet that I want to highlight is, first of all, well, actually, I guess there are three, but two of them are foundation. One is, as David said, the satellite stacks, which is the name that we have come up with for our deposit collections at senior living centers throughout Downers Grove. The foundation has made an $11,500 pledge of donation to the library to support that first year of rolling out those deposit collections to 6 sites throughout Downers Grove, and for their improvements throughout the year. So that's the initial collections, the actual racks to house them, and the upkeep of those books for the first year. So we're really looking forward to rolling that out. Fingers crossed. We're hoping that by March we will have those in place. And then also for the foundation, they are working on the request for proposals for donation of a work of art to grace the big wall, as we have been affectionately referring to it, the wall that used to house hold shelves that is next to the book return adjacent to the checkout desk in the lobby. So that large blank wall is a great place for a really fantastic statement work of art. If you have not had a chance to look at the artwork of the 7 selected artists, there has been some talk at the foundation level about representative art versus abstract art, and the styles of the artists selected, but each one is excellent, and we're hoping to come up with a really fantastic piece. The library board will be informed and involved as we go through these steps, because of course any donation of artwork has to be approved by you before it's finalized. And Robin Triloff is the chair of the art committee, and so she will be kind of shepherding this process through, and so she's here tonight with us. She was out taking pictures earlier this evening of the wall to include in that RFP, so that the artists get a better perspective on where we're going to put this piece. So we're very excited about that. And then
I was just going to ask, do the artists know yet that we're going to be submitting this RFP?
No, the RFP goes out the day after tomorrow, Friday,
Okay.
and the photographs will be attached. And then we're providing them with a small honorarium to cover their costs of if they're creating a maquette. We are open to purchasing art, but we are also open to a commission, so they can propose either one. And so the photos are to give them an idea, but the small amount of money is also to pay if they would like to come out and actually feel the library and that space themselves, which is highly recommended but not required.
Okay, thank you. And I was telling Robin this during the before the meeting. I looked at I think pretty much all of the artists today, and they're amazing. I mean, you've done a great job, you and your team, of putting together an excellent list to choose from. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure.
exciting stuff going on. And then finally, in January, I am going to bring forward an amended budget for you all. There is a paragraph about that in my librarian's report about the rationale. We do have, with the donation from the foundation for that deposit collection and the $2,000 donation from the DuPage Foundation for the View from the Artist Studio program. It's got some impact on those budget lines, but additionally, we are making some changes in our staffing. We're moving some folks around. We've had some people leave, and it gave us an opportunity to make a change that we had been discussing doing in the future. The time became now to move our interlibrary loan staff from the circulation department into the adult and teen services department. So that will be a significant change to the salaries lines for each of those departments. So we want to clean that up. We will also be able to tighten up the benefits lines now that we have the health insurance numbers. We have some folks in place. We know what people have elected in their benefits. So we may be able to tighten up a couple of our other budget lines in addition to allowing for those couple of grants. So, and the new staffing changes. So you'll see that in January with a whole explanation about whatever we wind up changing.
I'm just wondering on the amended budget. I mean, people make budgets and then things change, and then make another budget. I'm just wondering, the budget that we submitted, it's published with the village, and it's included, and it's sort of the official budget, and what do we do then with this budget?
It's my intent that this would be the only amendment for this year. We did amend the last budget due to the capital replacement funds. When we amend our budget, you all approve it, and then it goes to the village council, and then the village council has to pass it as a resolution to accept that amended budget, and then that gets put right in with the village's budget again.
Well, I guess I'm just thinking, if the budget ultimately is, if the final numbers are different from the original budget, it's, because the circumstances change, and we have numbers that ultimately are different. We have explanations for that. I'm just wondering, should we revise? Should we actually update the budget, or can we just
know that we're going
each year?
Or reclass it in a certain way that we understand internally that. That's my question: is the final number going to change, or just the general ledger? Basically, like this department we'll have some moves down to this department and that sort of thing.
It is the intent that the overall budget will only change by the amounts of the two donations. And those amounts will be allocated in additional monies to the lines for the deposit collections, so that we don't have to do that.
But aren't they relatively modest? I mean, in the big scheme of things, this is a modest adjustment. So I'm just wondering, does it really?
Back on like doing all these additions and subtractions, it still kind of nets out to the same.
And do we? I'm just thinking that.
We're not changing the levy.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Then why
Right.
go through the process
Right.
of doing it? Because then I just think it just creates this issue of like, at what point do you then go through the process? Do you, because at some point it doesn't make sense to adjust to redo the budget.
Right.
And
And
at some point it does. I don't.
Well,
And I think the changes that you mentioned can be easily addressed in the final budget.
Right.
That would be audit proof, essentially. So there's still a way to address the variances that you'll start to see in different departments and the donations that were made and the additional monies we're able to spend because of those. But I think as long as that final number stays the same, you can address it in a different way that doesn't completely
Right. Well, and just for the new board members, like what we'll see next year when we're going through the budget process is we'll see, okay, this was our budget, then these were the actual numbers,
Right.
and then we start the
Yeah.
new budget process. So, I mean, we'll have all the good information when we're budgeting
Right.
for next year too.
Right.
I'm just trying to take something off your.
Yeah. It's not hard to feel with that.
Feel free. It will be a fairly large change in the departmental salaries lines in particular. And we've got some other things that if we could take down the amount that we're spending on the health insurance, because we had put in such a large, because we don't know, we do our budget so far in advance that we have to figure in the biggest possible increase basically for our health insurance, because we do our budget 18 months in advance.
In this year in particular, we had to do it. We did it. I think it was by the end of August.
Yep, we had to do it, and that is the expectation at this time by the village council, is that it's always done by the end of August.
So I've been on another board where the policy was it had to be brought to the board anytime any month was out of whack by 10%. I think that was the number. Maybe it's not, maybe that's a big number now, I'm saying all that. But you could have some percent that says this is what we need to talk about.
Well, I seem to recall there was a year where you had, and maybe it was, certain people were reclassified like as different employees, and so the numbers sort of came to essentially similar numbers, but they were in different line items.
And I think to his point, that would help. It would be, again, from an audit trail perspective, it would be better to, instead of amending it, to change it for the following fiscal year, just so that you can see why you made those major changes. Does that make sense? Sure. Right?
It comes down to what is your comfort level, because we are going to go wildly over and under in certain budget lines, and we know it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with it as long as you have a reason for it.
As long as we have a reason for it, and as long as we are public with it. I'm big on the transparency issue, and it's a little bit of a balancing act. We can accomplish transparency by various means.
Right.
And I'm open to that.
Yeah, I agree.
In that regard, I think that the idea of whether it's in January or February or whenever it is, just have that as part of the director's report of saying these are the
variances, major variances and why.
Yeah, you're going to see some big things, and here's the list.
We'll have some new faces at the village council also. I want to make sure they know what we're doing.
Exactly.
They appoint us. They tend not to, under the Illinois law, they don't have much to say about our budget, but they do appoint us, and so we want to maintain good communications there. We'll have a new mayor, we'll have a new council.
And also our financials are all done at the village. We input through the village's system, but they run checks, they do all of the accounting. So that's one of those things. We don't have a whole lot of autonomy.
Right.
So to Ken's point, is there a point at which the people that manage your budgets, your individual departmental budgets, a threshold for variance where it sort of kind of throws off red flags that you report on and you want to make sure to flag? Is there something?
We really look at, everybody kind of looks at their budget on that monthly basis on the, have you hit that percentage of the year that we've gone through?
Yeah.
Or is there a reason that you've gone above that? So with the individual departments, that's kind of our.
Yeah, and we will see that on our monthly, and I know, Kim, you brought up some things in the past, and we all have, where there's one line item that's, as a percentage, is just out of whack from where we budgeted it, either up or down. And then, we talk about it and as to why that's the case. And so we're never more than essentially 30 days behind.
Yes.
This is just a small piece, but when you do budget kind of like steam butter spread for the whole year, so you say we're going to spend X amount. So there are also times when you're going to have two major hits that will look like it's more than it is.
Exactly.
Okay. Just curious, because there's two ways of getting that, right?
And there are
What's the term you use?
Peanut butter spread. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
our finance director calls it. Is
I just wanted to.
Evenly
that's-
spread
I love the
throughout
sound
the
of it.
year.
Yeah.
And we know
I've
that
heard
there
that
are some
before.
things that don't.
we're paying them twice a year.
Yeah.
But we're
Or
going to
once
spread
a
it
year or
evenly over.
whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
And we do try to make note of that. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring this to you and to talk about an amended budget and the possibility of doing it is because, of course, 4 of you have been here a year and a half or less.
Yeah.
So this is all about comfort level of the board. So I want to make sure that you're comfortable with it.
Are we finished with the library?
Sure.
director's report? Okay, excellent. We're now on to agenda item number 12, trustee comments and requests for information. Do we have any additional trustee comments or requests for information?
Not a
Yes.
request for information, just a comment and applause, actually, more than anything else. People have observed me on the board for a lot of years now. I've got a couple of hot buttons that we're getting both of them I want to mention. One is the art collection. Because when the expansion of the building happened, how many years ago it was? 18 years ago or something like that. I was on the board at that time, and when we first started seeing the initial drawings, design for the new building, we had this tower at the Curtis Street end and the spine of the building, and I looked at that and I just said, that screams for art. And the discussion that rolled from that, the risk of sounding proud, I am proud, because at that time, we didn't have art in the library. And we were able to, through contributions, as well as a little bit of the construction budget at that time, we were able to commission artwork, original artwork for the library, and we were able to purchase artwork, and as I mentioned earlier, start the first public art collection in the village of Downers Grove. And I'm very proud that that is continuing. I'm thrilled that it's in skilled hands, and so thank you for that. The other hot button, though, is you mentioned the collections in senior living facilities. I just want to refer back to something we talked about before, and that is this library has put collections, albeit small collections, in the 3 pad sites in Downers Grove, 3 homeless shelters, parts of the DuPage County pad system, but there are 3 locations within Downers Grove. They all happen to be churches. And in the past, homeless people were not permitted under Illinois law to access library collections. They weren't allowed library cards. Well, we have made some changes to that through Julie's leadership, and so that we can accommodate that in some ways. But we have also, through the efforts of Julie and the library, put library collections in each of those 3 pad sites now. And with the help of the Downers Grove Rotary Club, which provided the carts that the books go on, at each of these 3 sites now there is a large cart full of many books that people in the homeless shelters can take. and read and bring back, or not.
We are using giveaways and donations for those.
Yeah, and I just think that is absolutely wonderful, and we are more and more being the library without walls. And I think that's terrific.
Thank you. Any other comments or requests for information from the trustees? Okay, we're now on to agenda item number 13, and I hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.